indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, thank you everybody for joining tonight. I very much appreciate it. The first thing on our agenda tonight would be any Board of Education comments.
I have a comment.
Okay, Gus, we have very good news for you, but go ahead and make your comment.
Well, is the comment related to that darn tree?
Yes, it is, and Cecil and Frank have an update on that.
Okay, I'll wait for it.
No, go ahead. Cecil and Frank worked together last night, and Frank met with someone from West Point this morning, and the tree will be removed on Monday.
Excellent. Good.
So thank you, Cecil. Thank you, Frank.
Thank you both of you.
Yes. And does anyone else have any comments? I do just want to reach out to everybody, all our administrators and teachers, everyone that's on the phone. I know how hard everyone's been working. I know it's going to be a challenge for all of us to come back to school in a week or so. I appreciate everything everybody's doing. We all appreciate everything everybody's doing. We all know of many people that are our colleagues, our friends, our families that are sick. And I just ask the public to bear with us, our community, bear with us. We're going to do what we can do, but we're not miracle workers. And we just need to keep on praying for our friends and colleagues and our family members that are sick, that they get well very quickly. And I ask everyone to please keep that in mind as we move forward for the next couple of weeks. We're tirelessly working to get what we can do. And I know Dr. Sheboy is going to talk about it. But one of the things, I don't know if anybody on this call listens to when the daily updates from our county executive. And he mentioned the other day about how hard it is right now for the schools because of all the different messages that are being sent from the different, I'll call them organizations, but basically from the New York State Health Department, our local health department, the county, the state, the governor's office. And we're trying to find out what we have to do, when we have to do it by, how we're going to do it, what's the right way to do it, what are we allowed to do, what aren't we allowed to do. And I feel like we're right back in the end of the summer again, with everything's just coming in at us and we can't make the changes fast enough. So everyone needs to bear with us up until that last day. I bet you we'll still be working on things, but everyone's doing just an unbelievable job to get us where we are today. And also thank you for our teachers and our administrators that are pitching in for some of our colleagues that aren't able to work on any given day for whatever reason, covering classes. So all this stuff is going on behind the scenes, and we just need to thank everybody for that. So thank you. Okay, so if we don't have any other board comments, we can move on to Dr. Sheboy, superintendent comments.
Yeah, so first off, I want to echo what Ms. Wallace said in regards to gratitude and hopefully some patience. Since we've been on our holiday pause, and actually since July, we've been working to make sure our schools were safe, and we truly believe our schools are safer than any place else. People say, well, you can open Walmart, but Walmart, and those places, they have different requirements. We have social distancing, we have mask requirements, we have cleaning that is, it's not medical grade cleaning, but my golly, it is pretty close to it. And everybody is working incredibly hard. When the district was notified that part of the community is designated in a yellow zone, that obviously changed some of our focus to testing. And everybody will remember back to our town halls when the questions were asked, well, are we testing? No, in fact, the school can't test. That was what the guidance was back then. And what is the school doing about this? And to Ms. Lawless's point about things changing, that even changing, the governor began saying early, well, schools have to test, and never gave advice or counsel on how that would happen. And even recently, the governor says things in a in his daily briefing on a PowerPoint slide, but you can't actually run a government with PowerPoint. It's usually through executive order, and those things seem to be on at least a week or two lag. That notwithstanding, in mid-November, we put together a testing task force to put together our testing plan should we need to test one or more building. And I want to thank a lot of people on this call who sit on those meetings every week, and all of our school nurses who are incredible. They have been at the forefront of helping us to make decisions and very much in alignment and connection with the County Department of Health. But our plan is that tomorrow we will be sending out a consent request to all of our schools, even though we will not plan on testing any school that we are not required to in the short term. So we are going to be required to test the Highland Falls Intermediate School as of today, because it is currently in the village of Highland Falls and therefore is in a yellow zone. We'll also be sending out some information to our faculty and staff tomorrow. We need people to consent to the testing so that we can meet the minimum requirements for testing. Currently, to open and stay open in a yellow zone, 10% have to be tested. I'm sorry, 20% have to be tested within a month's period of time. For yellow to open, we have to do it within the first 2 weeks, and then ongoing unless we hit positivity rates on a monthly basis, 20%. If we happen to hit an orange zone, again, it is that 20%. And if we hit a red zone, we have to test 30%. The governor has not given any sort of indication that school districts will not be permitted to open. So right now we are full steam ahead. We've got our plans. We've ordered our tests, much like everything that seems to be going on during COVID. They're backlogged, which is part of the reason why we're not planning on just testing everybody, is we wouldn't have sufficient tests on hand to do that. And also it would exhaust our testing population unnecessarily for populations that don't have to be tested. And it is a recommendation of council that we test the areas that we have to. But we do anticipate testing our faculty, staff, and children at the Highland Falls Intermediate School starting the week that we return. So we have a plan, and we will be communicating that in writing to our community tomorrow. In addition, a link for a Google consent form that has information. The district is not actually conducting the test itself. We will be partnering with Horizon Family Medical out of Chester and New Windsor. They have been great. It will be at no cost to anybody. They will collect insurance information from individuals, and they will bill insurance. But if somebody doesn't have insurance, then there will be no cost to those individuals. There's no copay, and it is a rapid test, so we'll get those results in 15 minutes. So we're pretty confident in what we've been working on. And again, I thank most of the people who are on this call because they've been involved in a lot of these meetings. As I said, we are preparing, entering our final stages of re-preparation to reopen. And we've got our custodial staff back at work, our aides and monitors. I'm hoping that the board will support that resolution to bring them back next week so that everybody will be running through the schedule starting next week, full bore, getting ready for the 19th. And from that perspective, I'll pause and see if any board members have a question on what I've just reported on, because I know that I just threw a lot out there.
So you have to have, I just want to clarify to the community, you need permission before you test the students.
Correct, consent.
It's a requirement for our faculty and staff. There's no real option there.
Not really, but we will be asking individuals to step up and volunteer if they want to go first. It's just good practice for us to do that.
Okay, and we'll continue to check every couple of weeks as to the percentages and what zone we remain in.
Yes, and currently as a yellow zone, if we test our 20% on our positivity rate, and again, I say currently because that's what the rules are today as of the 7th of January. But if our positivity rate is lower than that of the microcluster, then we wouldn't have to test again. But that's the rules as of today.
Okay.
I do want to stress that if we don't get the number or the number of people or the percentage of students to consent, their families to consent, then that building would not be able to remain open. And that's just something I want to make sure that we are clear on. That's not my rule. That is the rule of the governor. So that if we only had 15% of our families consent after the 2 weeks of required testing, where we would have had to test the 20%, we would not be able to remain open in that building. So,
and it's 20% of the students that are in the building, not the
Correct.
ones that choose to work at home, right? I'm sorry, learn from home.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah, absolutely.
thank
Yeah, and it is 20% of students who are attending personally at school instruction. So yeah, so we would do 20% of the maroon cohort, 20% of the gold cohort, and then 20% of our faculty and staff as an aggregated group.
Okay, thank you. I just want to clear all that stuff out there. Go ahead, Aaron.
And again, Frank, just to clarify, that's not our rules. This is what we're governed to. This is,
Yeah, that is correct. And those again are the rules.
Yeah, I just want people who are listening in the community to understand, like, we're not making up these rules. These are, again, rules we have to follow the same way we've been following since March. So I just want to make sure people understand that. Thank you.
Yeah, and just again, clarification to that point, Aaron, and I appreciate it. We can't compel any student's family to test, but we are hoping that people will, out of a desire to have our schools open and stay open. Yep. So,
Frank, one question.
Yeah.
And maybe Dr. Fedor could help too a little bit. We got about 300 students in the intermediate school,
yes,
approximately, I think. And so I believe when we were hybrid during that short time period, it was about half and half virtual, half hybrid. So
it's about 207 students who attend currently on the maroon cohorts is about 207 students total.
Okay. So you're looking at 40, you got to test around 40, 45.
Yeah. You would definitely want to have more than your 20% walking into your testing, but yes, definitely we would need to have, we've ordered, hoping that we get our 20%, and the state will not just give us 1,000 tests for all of our students. They just won't do it. So they want to know what percent is your 20% of your faculty and staff and students, right? And then they also, want to know 2 testing periods. So that's what they're basically giving us, is 2 testing periods for the intermediate school faculty, staff, and children.
All right. So staff at that school is 40. Maybe.
Well, if you count staff, remember.
Oh, yeah, more than that. Probably, yeah. All staff.
Clerical aides, monitors,
right.
And I would say that it's probably not a bad idea to include in that number just our food service workers who work there, even though they're contractors. But I mean, I don't believe we have to include them, but we also wouldn't want to exclude anybody who wants to get a test. I mean, we do have questions that come up. What happens if a child tests positive? Does the family of the child that maybe has children in other schools have to pick up their children? Absolutely, because then we would have a positive in the household, which is a close contact, and they would have to get their other child immediately. What they should also consider doing, and this is obviously dependent on what the family's relationship with their own healthcare provider is, because we can't tell somebody to test. If their healthcare provider feels that they should test, then it probably wouldn't be a bad idea. Remember, this is an interesting virus. Viral loads vary as you hit the infection curve. So, you may start off negative, and then 2 days later you're positive, and that's what we've seen in a lot of people. Yeah. Any other questions on that? Okay, so I just have.
I'm sorry. Real quick, a lot of information. I'm sorry if I missed it. But I know you said they don't have to get tested if they don't want to. If they do, are they going to their own personal place, or they're going to do it on site?
On site at the Highland Falls Intermediate School. Horizons Family Medical has a van they will pull up. Our goal will be to have our faculty and staff actually be able to be tested if we can. It's timing, of course, before the day begins, so that we would know of any potential disruption to instruction there. We have a protocol in each of the buildings where we would house the individuals who've been identified. So next not next Thursday, but Thursday the 21st is tentatively slated as our first testing date for students, faculty, and staff. So what we would do is send out information early in the week for those children who have been randomly selected to total our 20%. Just to let the family know that your child will be tested on the 21st. Same thing with our faculty and staff. You will be tested on the 21st, and we will have those people go directly to the auditorium. The faculty will have remain in their cars until they're testing, because this way we minimize any potential exposure should somebody test positive. And then we have the isolation room, and we have a holding area that is sufficiently sized in all of our buildings, but we're talking intermediate school for the immediate short term, that we could keep people certainly more than the 6 feet social distance. And again, 15 minutes is your time. We are talking in a cohort of 200 or so. That's a nice round number for me to do 20% math, right? We're talking 40 students would need to be tested in the 2-week period. We're talking 10 students roughly. We figured 10 to 16 on the first day, 10 to 16 on the following Monday, 10 to 16 the following Thursday, and 10 to 16 on the following Monday, so that we would have that total number of 40 to 60. We don't envision needing 60, but I just use that number to equal that. That would be tested. We'd have our positivity rate fairly quickly, because it is a simple math problem. Positives over your numbers tested multiplied by 100 for a percent, and then we'll know our positivity rate. We will report those things on every testing day to the state, because we have to, and then at the end of that period, when the 20% is reached, then we would know.
Frank, can you hear me?
Perfectly.
Okay. How much time between the 2 testing periods that they require in days or weeks?
So for a yellow school, Ned, we have to test 20% within the first 2 weeks of being back. If we were orange, we would have to test 20% over the month. So they want you to test 10, if you're orange, 10% bi-weekly. But since we are yellow and we have to test to stay open, we have to open it and stay open, then it's going to be 10% each of those weeks. So
10% of the student body.
Faculty and staff.
And the faculty and the staff.
Correct. Yep.
Wouldn't it make sense for us to test more often and not be limited by those 2 periods?
Well, yes, maybe, depending on what you're doing. And remember, we are not doing diagnostic testing, we're doing surveillance testing. And the surveillance testing that we're doing is for a very specific reason, because the district has a building that has been designated as a yellow, or presumably has multiple buildings that could potentially be designated as something else. We will follow the direction of the State Department of Health, because what we would not end up doing then is exhaust our potential. Again, we may not get, you're certainly not going to get 100%. School districts that have put out surveys are getting somewhere between 40 and 60% consent. So if you have to stay open for a long time, or trying to stay open for a long time, and you're a red, you've now exhausted that percent, and therefore you have to come up with your next unique. You can't just go back and test your first 20% or your first 30%. So it is, you don't want to over exhaust your pool of consent.
This is what I'm talking about with the, and if I sound sarcastic, I'm being sarcastic, with the 500 pages of rules and them changing all the time. It's very confusing. It's changing all the time. The percentages, you don't want to overtest. It makes all the sense in the world to test as many as you can, but you really can't, because you need those kids for the next week or the week after if you have to continue to do it. And right now I'm feeling that we might have, there's a very good chance we're going to have to continue to do it, because everybody's numbers are going up, not just ours, everyone around us.
Yeah. Yeah, in theory, every school district, or I mean, I think it's 37 counties would be designated as orange. Yet the governor has not actually designated that many counties as orange. He was still operating from his micro cluster, and I don't. You know, if you've listened to the governor, like most of us have listened to the governor on at least a fairly irregular basis. He wants schools to remain open. He recognizes that schools have taken amazing strides to make themselves safer than the regular world. That when our students are in school, they are probably less likely to get together in gatherings that are unsafe than if they're in school and socially distancing, wearing masks, and in areas that are being cleaned regularly. So the governor wants, I believe, schools to be open, but obviously we don't have any say over anything, because in theory, I believe that the county's infection rate is about 9%. In theory, schools should have been shut down if we went by his original metrics. So we don't know what he's doing.
Yeah. Anyone have any suggestions as to education of the parents so we could get a greater percentage of consents from them?
Yeah, Ned, I think a lot of our documentation that we have is about the tests themselves. We're going to encourage people to reach out to our school nurses who have been tested, who know what this testing is. I think they were even going to go through the testing just so that they could explain it in more detail to parents, especially if our younger children potentially, should our Fort Montgomery Elementary School find itself in a zone. Those are some young children. We want to make sure that all of our family members are comfortable with the testing that their children are going to go through. I think that this is a carrot and sticks kind of mentality, Ned, that if we don't get the consent, we will probably not be able to remain open for all that long. So it is carrot and stick kind of. I hate using those terms, but.
No, and it's true, Ned. And also, like we said earlier, these are just our numbers now. They might hit us with something next week that requires something that we just can't do. We're keeping our fingers crossed, but it's possible, because I'm hearing all sorts of different things on the different whatever announcements and daily and bi-weekly and whatever it is, updates that we're getting.
Yeah, and I've sat in on meetings with elected officials, we'll just leave it at that, on let's say Tuesday, where we were given a body of information, and then sat in on a meeting with the same elected official on another day in that same week, only to get different information from the same individual. So we're still full steam ahead. We have a plan. We think it's a good plan. And our goal is to bring our kids back safely and to keep our schools open. I guarantee we will face disruptions. I guarantee it. My hope is that they're minimal. My hope is that families will do what they're supposed to do and make sure that they're not sending their children to school ill, that faculty and staff will do what they're supposed to do and not come to school if they're ill, that everybody will honestly answer our screening survey any day that we're supposed to do it, faculty and staff every day, our students and their families the once a week that they have to do it. But absent that, we will not be able to stay open. We saw it in November, and I'm sure that Jacqueline was one of the students who was very disappointed by the fact that we were open such a small period of time. But we need everybody to do their part, because the way the rules are at the County Department of Health, an individual student's illness can shut down, can take 80 students with them and 8 staff members. Three students, that's an entire cohort just being isolated and quarantined.
And and Dr. Sheboy, what I want to touch on with that for people to understand, I'm not opening up a can of worms here, but I know there's been a lot of questions from the community and the parents. Well, why is school A open and school B open and school C open? Well, I can't answer all of that, but I can tell you when a school is in a different county, from ours, that they have different rules as it comes to determining who needs to quarantine after somebody is found to be positive for COVID.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of that going on as well. There's different rules and in different counties, or different processes in
Right.
different.
Typically, one would identify somebody who's a close contact, and close contact is defined very, very clearly as somebody who is within 6 feet of somebody, even wearing a mask, within 6 feet of somebody for 10 minutes or more. That is close contact. The Orange County Department of Health and a few other county departments of health have extended that, when we're talking about schools, to mean a congregate setting. A classroom is a congregate setting. A school bus is, classroom is a classroom. So if we're teaching in the gymnasium, which gives you plenty of room to socially distance, that is still a congregate setting as per the Orange County Department of Health. The auditorium is still a congregate setting as per the Department of Health. The cafeteria is still a congregate setting. So that's why such disruptions occur to our program in a small school like ours. And I mean, potentially eight faculty and staff members for one student. If you've got 3 or 4, you have potentially 30 faculty and staff members who are on isolation or quarantine, and I cannot get that many substitutes on a given day. That's what happened in November. So,
If I can make a suggestion, I think it's critical to get out in the newspaper and otherwise to the public, as well as the parents, but not just the parents, that without that significant number of consents to participate, we will not be able to keep our education process in person operable.
that's correct. And maybe Mary Jane can reach out to me and we can put something together. So,
And also, Ned, that would be in the documentation and rollout that Dr. Sheboy spoke about earlier. That'll be going out to all the schools as well.
Yep.
Yes. Okay.
So I just had one more little thing,
Please.
and that's
Yes.
that the New York State Council of School Superintendents Commission on Diversity and Inclusivity. We had our first meeting of the 2021 school year. It was actually today. And it was very interesting because obviously the events of yesterday caused a lot of people to pause, and we shared a lot about just some tools that we have for addressing these this disruption, this social unrest in our classrooms, and it was fantastic. In addition, the group has some great resources. You have Nicole on here, and a lot of actually are members of our DEC, and I thank you for being here. I raise my hands to you. But these resources that are available, hopefully we will be able to take part in as well. There'll be some webinars sponsored by NISCUS as well for diversity and equity. We have started to sign up. They're virtual, but for some of the career fairs that are around the state, in order to make sure that we're attracting candidates who are highly qualified and reflect who our students are. So. And I know that Ms. Crow is on here, and I know she's going to say something about athletics, but I just wanted to take a second. I did get a question to the reopening, and I know we usually take that as public, but I just want to make sure. Somebody had asked a question about athletics and when are athletics starting. Low risk sports are scheduled to start, and this was directed by the OCIAA on the 19th of January. High-risk sports, we do not know when they are going to start, if they are going to start. That was the latest from the governor. And just, the question is why they didn't begin already. And again, I'm going to go back to the school district does not operate in a vacuum. The school district operates within under the jurisdiction of the New York State Public High School Athletic Association, Section 9, and the OCIAA. And the OCIAA moved the start because almost nobody was in person in session until starting on the 19th. And schools that had planned on it, most of them have now moved to the 19th of January. So Debbie, I know you're going to say something, or Coach Crow, I know you're going to say something a little bit, but I just wanted to throw that out there so you wouldn't have to say that piece at least. So,
Thank you.
all right. And
Thank
that's
you.
my report.
Thank you. Dr. Theodore?
Good evening. Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here. I just wanted to follow up with what Dr. Sheboy was saying. We have a lot going on right now. We're prepping our schools. I am in admiration of our principals who are working so hard to support their teachers and also, you know, in awe of our teachers and the hard work that they're doing. We did send out a parent survey to get feedback on the remote learning. And by and large, the feedback is consistent across all 3 schools. The community understands that our teachers are working under, you know, challenging conditions, and they really appreciate all of the work that the teachers are doing to connect with our students. But at the end of the day, they want their children to be back in our schools, just like we want the students to be with us. So we're all singing the same song. And so the other thing that we have going on is that we did the parent survey on remote learning will be available until tomorrow. The other thing that we have out is a Google form for the upcoming some marking period, the period from January 25th until April 5th. And that is for parents to indicate whether or not they would like to opt their children out of in-person instruction. And that form is available until tomorrow as well. We have 340 responses so far. I know that's a question that many of you ask. So that's sort of where we are. Some of those are duplicates. It's not an exact number, but that's right where we are around right now. And just working hard with everybody to make sure that we can get our schools open for students to be with us and continue the work.
Thank you very much.
My
Thank
pleasure.
you.
Thank you.
Denise?
Of the 340,
Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Ned.
how many of the 340, what is the breakdown of the response?
So there's 186 students at the high school, 99 students at Fort Montgomery, at Highland Falls Intermediate School, and 55 students from the Fort Montgomery Elementary School. And again, those are approximate numbers. There are some duplicates in there.
Want to
so
attend
that's just
in person?
no. They're selecting. They're opting to let their students learn virtually still.
Okay, thank you.
They're opting out of in-person instruction.
Thanks.
Thank you. Denise?
Good evening, everybody. I cannot believe that for the business end, we're actually halfway through the school year already. So time is flying. I am still working on the budget. It's difficult. We're not getting any information from the state from the governor yet. We still have another week. Hopefully we'll hear something. The business office right now, we're continuing with everyday operations, but we're working on W-2s and getting the 1099s ready to get to be released by the end of the month. Just so everybody knows, I did submit the impact data application back in December. They had some snafus this year with the application portal, but I worked with Michael Thomas and we were set to go. My records indicate we did meet our MOE for this current school year, so that's a good thing. So we don't have to worry about trying to fight for that extra money. So it should be there as long as everybody the money funnels through from the capital end. And also it's very interesting today because we did have some snow and some weather relations, but we look outside our windows and we can watch everybody from 8 Turf working on the fields, and they're putting down the fillers and everything. And it's quite interesting to see, but the best is to be able to look outside even when it's gloomy out, that you see green and maroon and it's nice and bright. So the field is, I think they're just about done doing that, but it looks really good on the Debbie Crow field. So just want everybody to know, if anybody, just so when you come back in, next week, anybody from the high school, just, take a look.
Thank you. Thank you. It really does look great. So I'm going to go down in alphabetical order so I don't mess this up. So, Ms. Hardanis, would you like to go next?
Sure.
Thank
Hi,
you.
everyone.
Hi.
So I just want to thank the board again for allowing the special ed department to present at the last meeting. It was very well received, and really, it's just a pleasure to work with such a dedicated team of individuals. And so I just wanted to, thank you again for hosting us last week. We are already starting annual reviews at the high school. They started this week. Mrs. Brand and I had spoken when when we realized that we were going to be remote and it made the most sense and least impact on students to start the meetings while we were remote. And this way teachers could pop in, get students started at an activity, come to the meeting. So that's been working out really well. We had one initial CSE meeting this week, and that student was classified through the CSE. And otherwise, I'm just really looking forward to the staff coming back next week and seeing people in person, and for the kids the following week.
Thank you very much. Mrs. Brand?
Hi, everybody. Happy New Year. It's great to be here. Great to see so many of your faces. It's been a long time, and thank you all for being patient as I go to class and the like, but I have missed being at the meetings and seeing you all. So we have some nice things going on at the high school. I know Jacqueline will be sharing some later, some of the great initiatives that our student council has started. But most recently, I know that many of you saw and commented on, but I just wanted to publicly say that our music department's winter concert was absolutely phenomenal before break. I know that they've gotten a lot of wonderful feedback. But it was so impressive, and their hard work really shone through. And so I just wanted to take a moment to say thank you to them for their great work, and to the students, obviously, as well. And then I'm sorry. The guidance department also has some great initiatives. Sarah Fitzsimmons and the guidance counselors have put together some student support groups for our students who are struggling, and wanted to just be able to meet with counselors and have discussions on a weekly basis. It's been successful so far. They had their first meeting yesterday, and they had a good turnout, and kids really participated well. They had their cameras on and they shared, and so it was nice to hear that a positive initiative to help kids get through a very difficult time was meaningful enough to students for them to participate and take their own personal time to do it. So that was great to hear, and kudos to them for their idea and for seeing it through. Also on yesterday during our faculty meeting, Ms. Fitzsimmons also presented to our faculty on mental health first aid. And so she went to a conference in December, and to turnkey it, and also to hopefully entice people into taking advantage of free training that we can get as a district. They have a grant where they can come into districts and train people. So she gave an initial kind of Clip Notes version, if Clip Notes still exist anymore, of what the training was like. And it was really great. She gave some very basic ways that faculty can both identify students who might be either at risk or struggling, and techniques to address those and to triage essentially, and until we can make sure that the student gets the support that they need. And so yesterday was really just a very quick intro, and we had about 25% of our faculty express interest in the more in-depth training. So she did a wonderful job presenting to the faculty, and I'm encouraged to hear that so many of our faculty and staff want to further this and make sure that we're helping students in every way that we can. ADAC will also be presenting to our PE classes next week on substance abuse. And so they, again, are always wonderful and supportive, and they're coming into our PE classes for 2 days to, continue the really important education around substance abuse, especially during this time when the risk for it, we believe, is even higher maybe than it typically would be. We also, later this month, will begin our 8th grade orientations. They will be all virtual in nature. We're going to try to do them a mixture of live, being there to actually interact with the students, along with some pre-recorded information. We felt that the mixture of both was important, just so that students who had questions would be able to do, ask them, and just to feel the connection to the great people that work in our building. And also, we will be having, Guidance will be hosting a virtual parent night for scheduling on January 27th. Again, just to present parents with their options for their kids' schedules, and because schedule building will begin in the first weeks of February. And so that's what's going on right now for the high school.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Mrs. Edelstein.
Could I actually go after Mrs. Maldonado? She needs.
Yes,
she's
sure.
Very excited to share. She needs to share.
Yes,
so I'd love
thank
for her to
you.
go first, and then I'll go
Thank
after
you.
her. No problem.
Thank you. Sure. Thank you, Ms. Maldonado.
Thank you, Rachel. Just threw me under the bus there. No, good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for allowing me to share the news and notes today. Mike has been out. He's out sick this entire week. And I just want to give a huge shout out to the admin team, as well as the school, everyone in the school. They've been so great, just texting me, hey, you sure if you need anything, because Mike is out and Mary is also out. So just huge shout out to the school. Thank you so much for helping me in any way that they can. What's going on in HFIS? We're back after being out for almost 2 weeks, right? So we are getting back into the swing of things after this winter break, and intentionally planning, having that conversation of intentionally planning for our students to practice those routines of the virtual classroom. Even as adults, right? After we stop doing something for 10 days, it's like, once we do it again, it's like, oh, that's how you do it, right? That's how you log in. So reminding students of the schedule and using morning meeting to help them gear up for the day. Those are like small tools that we use, and that is, go a long way for establishing those routine. We're having a sharpening our toolkit. They're like mini PDs that we're going to offer on Wednesdays in January, starting January 13th. And they're basically refreshers of those tools that the teachers have been already using, but sometimes they just need a refresher of like those tech tools most teachers are using already in their classroom. So those will be offered on Wednesdays, starting on January 13th. Huge shout out to Miss Magyar, who's always a team player and willing to help out with those tech PDs. I think Mike spoke last one in the board meeting about the student survey that was sent out at the middle of December. So we're taking some time now to unpack the student survey by grade level and having conversations around the student feedback and possible adjustments to meet the needs of the students. And it's really awesome. Like yesterday, we spent time in the faculty meeting just unpacking that and reading through it. And, I told the faculty before I shared it with them that it's going to be hard to read, right? Like hearing the feedback of the students and hearing their reality of what they're going through it's not easy to read. But, they were on it and they started diving into it. And we talked about like some adjustments even yesterday when they were reading it. And then the last thing is the Positivity Project, which is the SEL that we use. We continue to use this in morning announcements. It's the platform that Mike and I use to, just give those, daily updates, but it's also a platform that we use to promote the character strength of the week. And really it connects to everything that we do. Like this week, our character strength was hope, and in everything that is going on this week in our world definitely is something that we can connect with. So I really want to give a shout out to that program that we use, because it really is a platform that we use to connect to even current events that are going on. All right, over to you, Rachel. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Yashira, and thank you for holding the fort down for us over there by yourself. So thank you. Rachel?
Yes, Yashira is doing an amazing job, and she knows she can count on us for anything. So thank you for that also, Yashira. There's some really fun things that are happening at the fort. January is Pick a Reading Partner Month. So all of our families that are on Class Dojo will be able to see a story that families could share with one another at bedtime and just listen to it and cuddle up together. There's some great stories that our faculty and our administrators from across the district are sharing with us. So thank you if you've already sent a video to me, and thank you to those of you who are volunteering to post those videos. Families, please watch them. They are absolutely wonderful stories, and some of them are really meaningful to our faculty, and they're excited to share them with you. We also have some other fun things that are happening. Jeremy, myself, and Mrs. Magyar have formed kind of groups. Mine and Jeremy's are more set, and then they'll be rotating. And then Mrs. Magyar has a group that she does on Wednesdays called Make It with Magyar. It's, I want to say, a monthly basis, and you could come on and join and just play. And that's something that, and when we're in a virtual setting, oftentimes is the most difficult to incorporate in, because we're doing so much great work with academics, but the play time and just regular social time and talk time is lacking. So we wanted to give kids a way to just sit and talk. And I have to tell you, I've been doing a group with some of our boys in second grade where we are Beyblading. If you have not played with a Beyblade, it is so much fun. It's essentially a spinning top, and you pull the trigger and it spins, and it's amazing. So we've been playing with that. The boys have asked next week to do Legos, and I am an expert Lego builder, so I'm very happy to be part of that. So there's some wonderful, wonderful things, and Jeremy's doing some things like that as well. I want to also just give a quick reminder. I know Dr. Theodore mentioned the opt-out survey, and that is due on Friday. But just a disclaimer and reminder for the fort that's a little bit different than at HFIS and JIO is that we have a virtual only setting and classroom. So if you are a family that is choosing to either come into the school building and join our hybrid model or change to the virtual model, so it's only when there's movement, you will be changing teachers as well. So it's important for us to know that information. If you are somebody who was previously virtual and you're deciding to come into the school building, welcome. We're excited to have you. Please, 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 please send me an email just to let me know, either on Dojo or to my email. And we will send your class placement, because that was what will change, to you by the middle of next week. So the sooner we know, the more we could make plans for that as well. We welcome anybody to come into hybrid. We want to have everybody as much as we possibly can and as safe as you feel. Our building is open and ready for you. So thank you. If you have any questions about it, please send me a message.
Thank you. That's very important to share. So thank you. Dr. Shiboy, can I ask for you to just give us a quick update on the preparation at the schools and the project in Tom's absence this evening?
Yeah, absolutely. So as pretty much everybody has said, our schools are ready to reopen. We were ready to reopen in November. We didn't unready. Certainly didn't close things down. We finished our annual visual inspection. We're preparing for our annual fire inspection, which last year corresponded to March 13th. This year it's in January, February. March 13th is a day that will live in infamy. We're getting ready for our lead testing and all those wonderful things that are going to be happening. We have a great plan for snow removal, even though things look very different at O'Neill. And it is a challenge because we don't have as many places to put snow. We're going to meet that challenge. The team is up and ready. Just a couple things on the project update. As Denise had said, every day out the window, it just seems like something new is happening. The Debbie Crow Field, districts are going to be so jealous of the facilities that we have, not just one beautiful turf field. They're going to drive up there onto Raider Road and see that wonderful field. And there's some enhancements planned along Raider Road. I know I don't want to speak out of turn, but they'll say, "Wow, what a great looking field," only to realize that they have an even better field with a stadium and all those things out back, and it's incredible. We will probably finish the closeout of this project in the next month or so. We're still working on some punch list items. And in addition, we are preparing for those phase 2 type items that we talked about at the last meeting. John Sokol and another rep from BCA actually will be in district tomorrow. They'll be looking in depth at some of the areas where we're talking about these enhancements, taking measurements, samples and things like that, and that they need to attend to. We're getting there. We have a project number, right, Denise, for that? It's a good thing. And
The letter of intent went up.
Yep, they're preparing for the design piece, then the approval piece, then the bid piece, and then in the summertime, the build piece. And then just lastly, as the board has probably seen in the agenda, and if anybody's looking at the agenda, we are anticipating some changes in the department, and we're preparing for those changes and what that's going to look like moving forward after the near term. So, yep.
Thank you. Thank you for filling in for Tom. And the one thing that I wanted to mention ahead of time before we get into the agenda after our committee reports is that I just want the board to take a look. I know today you got some changes to your board docs, and one of them was a change to the change orders. There was verbiage that needed to be updated. Gus brought it to our attention. So we have removed item 5-06 on the change orders. It'll be handled at a later time. So that was one of the updates to the board that Frank is handling with Denise going forward. So thank you for that going forward. I remind the board, if you have any questions at all on anything that comes out in the board packet, please make sure you reach out to all of us. I know some of the other board members had a question and did send them in, copying everybody, so we can hit those before the board meeting and make sure that everybody's comfortable and clear on what's bringing forward to us. So I'm very much now looking forward to our presentation from Jacqueline, and I thank you for joining us, and I thank you for having the patience while we went through all of our updates and comments. So I'm going to turn it over to you, Jacqueline. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you so much, and good evening. I'm just going to take a moment now to present my screen.
Okay, all set.
All right, thank you. So I would first like to start by thanking you for inviting me to speak this evening on behalf of Student Council. So our first goal for the year was just staying connected with our student body. So what we did is we recently revamped OHS Raider Media, which is our main Instagram account. We also created a new Twitter account and established a goal of increasing our platform presence this school year. We, on our main account, OHS Raider Media, have 532 followers, and every class now has their own account to share information with their peers. Our major event this fall was our Virtual Spirit Week, which relied heavily upon our social media platforms for interaction with the students. The Spirit Days were determined by student voting and choice, and the selections were College Day, Twin Day, Decades Day, and Sports Day. We created videos, made picture slideshows, and brackets on our Instagram page to lift school spirit and to encourage students to make the most out of their virtual homecoming week. We also had prizes that were awarded to the winners that were voted on by the student body each day. And we were so ecstatic to see that there was participation from both students and teachers. As Student Council, we were concerned that our freshman class and new students were missing out on important opportunities to meet one another in person. So traditionally, students experience an in-person welcome at the new student orientation, but that was, of course, not a possibility this year. But in an effort to connect and welcome our new students, the Student Council created a new program to encourage camaraderie. So this was our freshman and new student virtual game night. In collaboration with S2S, we designed this game night that consisted of multiple Google Meets and was hosted by our officers and S2S representatives. In these meets, games such as Kahoot, Shazam, and Scattergories were played. And I would like to give a special thank you to the PTSC for providing us with donations so that we were able to end our night with raffle prizes. And before I finish tonight, I would just like to touch on our future plans. So our goal is going to continue to find creative alternatives to increase connections under the current restraints. We are talking about the possibilities of a virtual Mr. OHS. We would like to do a Spring Spirit Week, and we've also talked about a socially distanced 5K. Thank you.
So this is great. Thank you very much. One of the questions not even a question, one of the statements that I want to make about this is it takes a lot of work just to put on a regular game night. But when you talk about putting on a virtual game night, there's a lot more work involved in it. Getting the information out, getting the setups, getting the Google Meets, getting the people involved that are going to show up and manage it. So I know how much extra work this is on everybody on top of, your schoolwork and things like that. So again, we as a board and as a community, thank you for realizing that students were missing this part. And this goes a long way. I'm sure it went a very long way.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you. Thank you so much.
Does anyone have any other questions for Jacqueline? Okay, well, thank you.
Hey, Ann?
Oh, go ahead, Dr. Sheboy. Yes.
Ann? I'm
Yes,
sorry, I just wanted to echo your sentiments on all the hard work that the Student Council is doing. I think it's great.
Thank you very
Thank
much,
you.
Jenny.
And Jacqueline, could I ask you to put on another
yes,
hat?
of course.
I hear there's a musical coming. I heard there's a musical coming someday, right?
Yes, there is. So that's funny that you say that. We actually just finished our show selection process in the drama club, which involved student nominations, and then there was a student vote. And it was selected that Little Women will actually be our spring musical this year.
That's exciting.
We're very excited. Yes, and we are very hopeful about the possible opportunities in presenting it. We don't know in exact what format it will be, but we know that there will be a show.
That's wonderful.
Yeah,
And I think
The show must go on.
it can be virtual or, right? It can be virtual or live. Is that my understanding?
Yes, the show can be performed virtually or in a live setting.
Perfect. So we'll get it done no matter what. Excellent.
Thank
And
you.
Jacqueline,
That's
absolutely.
great news.
Jacqueline, you want to give a little plug for your gala as well?
Yes, so the Drama Club will also be hosting a gala February 6th at 7 p.m. And it will just be an opportunity for members of the Drama Club to show off their skills and their talents. And I really hope as many people can attend as possible. I think it will be a really enjoyable experience.
What day was that, Jacqueline?
It's February 6th at 7 o'clock.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Of course.
And try to get some schoolwork done in the middle of everything else you got going on.
Exactly. That's my point. So thank you. Thank you for not giving up and still supporting your fellow students. And thank you. And also your fellow students, the ones that are on this call and ones that aren't. Please make sure you thank them for us.
I will. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jacqueline.
Okay. Our policy committee?
So we're just waiting now to hear back from Erie One BOCES on our next draft. And once I get something, I'll send it out to the committee and I'll let people know when we can get together. It should be a quick turnaround on that one.
Thank you. Our Wellness, Health, and Safety Committee, didn't see any meeting yet, right?
There's not been a meeting.
Okay, thanks, Faith. Audit Committee, again, right now, we're at a point that what needs to be done is done, so we're okay with that. Facilities, as Frank said, there'll be some changes in that, and once we have a better idea of how that's going to be handled, we'll make sure we let you know.
Yeah, I'm going to put together a meeting for early next month, Ann, just so that the facility committee can start to think about that.
Yeah, great idea. Thank you. And I know we have some members of our Diversity and Equity Committee on this call with us. I'm very anxious to hear from them this evening.
Thank you. Hi, I'm Nicole Glennon. If you don't know me, I'm one of the co-chairs of the Diversity and Equity Committee, and myself and the other co-chairs are here tonight to present some of the elements that we've been working on. And before we start, it's great to see so many of you, and so many of you have actually joined the committee or even attended a meeting or two, so it's been great to have your support. So I am going to present my screen and then let my other awesome co-chairs speak. So basically, you all, I believe, received our proposed diversity and equity plan. So over the past few weeks, we've been broken down into groups where each group is looking at one of 4 elements and coming up with some actionable steps that we can take to make some real positive change in the district. So I'll turn this over to Dave.
Hi, good evening, everybody. My name is Dave. I'm a special educator at James O'Neill High School. I'm one of the co-chairs. So our group was for element 1. Element 1 is all about recruiting, hiring, supporting, and retaining faculty and staff that reflects the diversity of our community and children. That is element 1. And we had a few action steps. We spoke about it for a couple of our meetings. The first is really the pipeline. How do we reach out to different areas and to different folks to help us with this? So a lot of it in the beginning was through collaboration, both with the colleges in the area, through teaching partnerships and fieldwork for students. This year, we got to collaborate with the Diversity and Equity Forum at West Point through Dr. Andrea Peters and the mentorship program with the BSA and some of our other students. The other part is the collaboration with the Mid-Hudson Study Council, and hopefully we can start online something called the Future Educators, the Hudson Valley Association. We're hoping to get an elective course or possibly a club to expose students to teaching at the high school level. Some short-term objectives we have for this element would be, first is really the interview panels, get some anti-bias training for our interviewers and diversify the panel itself. Maybe with the job openings, we can place some specific words to entice some of these folks who are applying that are more in line with the diversity of our community. And then, like Dr. Sheboy said on the call, a lot of things right now through recruitment fairs are online, but really get out there to expand the recruitment fairs that we're going to in the region. And then finally, obviously, the Future Educators of the Hudson Valley Association. Hopefully we can get a club or an elective. That is a short-term goal, but also a long-term goal to make it more of like an organic process of our students that come to our school. Hopefully they become staff members or teachers or coaches and stay in the area and teach. What the best thing is really our own students becoming teachers in their own communities. So that's what we're striving for.
Hi, everyone. My name is Joseph Toomey. I'm 3rd grade special ed teacher at the intermediate school. And a lot of incredible teachers and I have been working on element 2, which is to provide staff development, student programming, community programming to increase cultural awareness. And our first few meetings, we were trying to think of how to be more culturally representative in our community. But then we realized we were kind of putting the cart before the horse, so to speak, in that we need to first build a stronger sense of community in our district between the 3 schools. So one of the first things that we had talked about that Marissa was just awesome in helping us with and really just kind of taking on herself is a district-wide and community newsletter that just highlights all the events happening in all the different buildings, any plays, art galleries and stuff, for especially when we're back in person. Marissa actually called it the Bridge, which is just like the perfect name because Bear Mountain Bridge and bridging the gap between the communities and the schools. So it just works on so many levels. And that's just like a one-pager of just all events that can go out to families and be posted on school sites so everyone can be alerted to events before they happen rather than after. And something else that we had talked about that we know that the Fort School and the intermediate school utilize is Class Dojo as a way to communicate with families and possibly thinking of getting that into the high school as well. So this way the parents and guardians have one sort of streamlined platform that they're used to in order to communicate with teachers and staff. And it also kind of works like a social media feed where you can post stuff on like a school story and highlight different things that are happening in the classroom. And Class Dojo also offers like free translation services for text-based posts. So when we put stuff up for our classroom, it'll show us how many parents and guardians viewed it, if it was translated and how many times and into what languages, and it does that all automatically as people sign up. It kind of has them pick their preferred language. So there's really nothing to really do on our end as the staff. Even as far as messaging parents, you can just send a message in English. It will automatically translate it to whatever language the parents prefer. So hopefully seeing if we could try and roll that out to keep things unified within our district.
Hi, everyone. My name is Kaylee Bowles, and I teach kindergarten through 5th grade math, AIS. I'm going to talk to you a little bit about Element 3. We've had a lot of input from faculty, staff, and administrators, so I appreciate all their hard work as we come up with some possible solutions and the actions needed to make those solutions happen. So Element 3 is all about providing opportunities for family and community engagement in each of our buildings and departments on an ongoing basis throughout the school year. So we really wanted to focus on removing barriers that connect our families to our school community. So these are some of the things that we came up with as solutions. One was offering childcare to allow families to attend school events, and we thought that maybe we could have student group volunteers be involved in making that happen. Another thing that we had talked about was surveying families to discover the best way to connect and involve them in district events, and we could use Google Form. We also wanted to provide virtual communication to allow for immediate translation and also text to speech. Our community is full of all different languages, and we want to make sure that all the information that we send out is able to be easily translated, and that kind of touches a little bit on what Joe was talking about with Class Dojo. That's our first point. Email, Google Classroom for parents. We also wanted to provide information about transportation resources. One of the amazing transportation resources that we have in our community is the Dial-A-Bus, and it is an option for during the day transportation, and we have had families use it for parent-teacher conferences that happen during the day. We also wanted to provide virtual options for attending parent-teacher conferences and other events, such as Google Meetings, to remove that barrier if there's a transportation issue or work or something of that nature. And finally, Parent University in Spanish to reach district families. And we thought we could work with bilingual faculty and staff to accomplish that goal as well.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Desiree Brown, and I currently work in the ICT classroom as a special ed teacher in first grade at the Fort. And for the last element, we decided to do a video, and our element we discussed student engagement and removing barriers to promote opportunity for all students. And a few of the members in my group got to share in the video the different aspects of the element that was most important to them. Okay, so element 4 in our diversity plan is addressing student engagement through staff development and remove barriers to promote opportunities for all students within all programs within the district.
One of our action items that we would like is for professional development for our staff to encourage and facilitate difficult conversations, something like a staff role play.
One of the things I'd like to be able to do is this is our second year with the AP Capstone program, and I would love for my AP research kids to go down to the intermediate school and promote this program, because it's a great opportunity for students of all levels to explore any topic of interest they want and learn how to do academic research. And I think it's a great opportunity. The kids really liked it this year, and I know that they would love to go to the intermediate school and try to get more kids to take the course.
In an effort to support the AP and honors courses at the high school, we encourage examination of the current enrollment in the honors and advanced courses at HFIS by fostering, inviting, and including students to challenge themselves for advanced courses at an earlier age. It can really change the conversation and dynamic of our courses across time and building.
Great. So those are our 4 elements, and we've been meeting consistently for the past year and a half, and our membership has continued to rise, and we have teachers from all 3 buildings. All grade level subjects. We have students, we've had BSA members come recently. We also have community members who have joined, people that are involved in local government, as well as parents. So we definitely are looking forward to seeing what we can continue to do for the remainder of this year and beyond. But thank you all for your support.
No problem.
So Nicole and your team, I mean, it's just absolutely amazing what you've been able to do, and the input, and just sitting in and listening to some of the meetings that you have, and the input and the ideas that all of those people that you just talked about that have joined and put in the meetings. Anytime it comes up at the board meetings, I talk about how amazing it is just listening and all the hard work that everybody's done. So thank you for everybody on the call to wrap everything up for us into a plan. But this plan took a solid year to get together. These are great ideas. They took a lot of thought, time, talk out. You guys looked into things. You looked and seen how other people were doing things. And I'll tell you, it's one of the most successful, I'll call it, school organizations that we have right now. And I'm very excited because I know how important it is to our school community, our world, our state, and everything. So thank you all for all your participation and for never giving up. So go ahead, Dr. Sheboy.
Just want to make one statement. First off, thank you to all of these co-chairs and just everybody who's a participant in it. They're incredible educators, incredible leaders in their own right. We've even had alum come back from last year to sit in on our meetings, and it's wonderful because that's how the dedication builds. But the goal, the next step, because that's always what's the next step. So the goal would be that the board would adopt this policy, this plan as a working plan of the district, which is why I wanted the board to have it, and the committee wanted the board to have it a month ago, so that everybody have a chance to parse it, and hopefully there's questions that we can address those now or in the future. But by adopting this plan, it would give a lot of weight to the actions that are being undertaken to increase opportunities for all of our children. So the goal would be to bring this to the board for adoption as a plan. It's not a required plan under New York State, and I think that's actually what makes it even better, is it is something that we're doing proactively for our kids and for our community.
So any questions now for the team? Okay.
I don't have any questions. But I just want to, I got to reiterate. I know you said it. I know, we say it a lot. I sat in on a lot of those early meetings. I haven't been there as much lately. My schedule got a little tougher. But the work that was done in those rooms were incredible. The conversations that were had, you wouldn't expect that in a room full of people. And we've had such a diverse group work on this plan. And I'm so confident in it working that I can't wait to see what comes of it. And I can't thank you guys enough for all the hard work you've done. It was incredible.
Thank you, Erin.
I have to add to that. I too don't have a question, but just being involved in this whole process, I have so much love for this work group. I have so much love for every effort that went into seeing this happen, and not only the amount of people that really rallied behind it, because it's quite clear that this is a very, very strong mission within our district, but everyone that participated in it really came to the group all at the same level. So it didn't matter if Frank was in the room or if it was a student in the room. Everyone came and was treated with respect, and their voices were heard, and it didn't matter if what you said was going to hurt somebody's feelings, that you were able to say what you needed to say in a way that you needed to get it out of your body, and that it was processed and really reflected back, and in a way that really educated people, and helped everyone feel heard and understood so that we could move forward with the mission. So it was really incredible to watch that play out. And I am so super proud of all of the work that was put into it. And I cannot wait to approve that plan.
Exactly. And one thing about that, even the way the meetings were run and structured, they rarely ran over. Everyone had the opportunity to talk. Everybody had the opportunity to their opinions. Everybody was still done. Whatever the action was for that day's meeting, for that group or that breakout session, it was completed. It was documented. It was shared. And that's not an easy task when you see the number of people that join these calls. So I'm very impressed as well on how the whole process was run. And I just think a lot of people can learn from this. I've used some of your ideas and tactics just from a meeting plan at my own job now and how I run meetings. So I thank you, because I think we've all learned on many, many levels with this, and you guys should be really, really proud of yourselves.
Mm-hmm. This is a legacy.
Whole thing.
Making the plan, and that you really created a legacy, and it's something to be very proud of.
So Frank, you'll be bringing it next meeting to us?
Probably the business meeting in February.
Oh, sorry. Yes, the next business meeting.
Yeah, which would be a perfect month to.
Yes, it would. Yeah. Yes, it would. Thank you.
And I think Rachel has.
I just wanted to add, I attend the meetings also, and I am so incredibly proud and honored to be part of those meetings. The amount of courage and vulnerability that is shown by every single member of the committee, and especially by the chairs and co-chairs, is just unbelievable. And it's not easy work. We often talk, especially in the nature of the world that we're living in right now, about how can we affect change. And it may feel small because it's in our small district, in our community, but the change that we're affecting has the potential to be monumental for our students and their children and their children's children. So I don't want to lose sight of that. And I just want to really commend, especially the co-chairs, on the work they're doing and the courage they're showing.
Thank you very much. And I think we're all in agreement. So thank you so much to Nicole and her team.
And if I could
thank you.
As someone who's not on the committee and has not been there, the impact that I can feel tonight, and people that are on the committee when they talk about it, that how much they're passionate about it. And I can feel it, not being on a committee, not everyone else has talked, said, being in the meetings, and it's amazing. And it's something that I look forward to as a parent here who has kids and is going to go through this. It's really incredible.
Thank you, Gabe. Thank you. So we look forward to it on our next business meeting agenda. Thank you. Okay. The next, Faith, have we had any of the OXPA meetings? No, I didn't think so.
No, there hasn't been one since the
Okay,
last meeting.
Mrs. Crow, from an athletics update. I know you still have some things, even though Dr. Sheboy gave us the update on the non-contact.
Yep, as Dr. Sheboy said, low to moderate winter sports can start through the OCIAA's decision on January 19th, and that really is just skiing and indoor track. We had an athletic directors meeting on Tuesday. Dr. Robert Zayas, who's the executive director of the New York State Public High School Athletic Association, met with us, and he's waiting for the direction of the New York State Department of Health and the governor's office to make a decision on the winter high-risk sports. And that would include basketball and wrestling and competitive cheer. Right now, March 1st is the date for our fall 2 season, and that would be soccer, cross country, and girls tennis. If high-risk sports are approved, then football, volleyball, and game day cheer would be allowed to participate at that time as well, but that has not been approved yet. And at the present time, spring sports are slated to start April 19th. And that's about all that I have. I wish I had more, but we're kind of just sitting back and waiting.
We're in a waiting game. Hurry up and wait.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes. Thank you. Does anyone have any questions for Mrs. Crow? Okay. Okay. The next committee would be the federal government funding liaison. And to be honest with you, our meetings right now, we have our meeting is scheduled for, our virtual meeting is scheduled for March, I believe, correct? Our FLISA meeting was canceled.
It appears to be, it's still, I just checked the website again today. It says on the page, it says winter meeting to be announced, and nothing's been announced. So we're gonna presume they're gonna push it to March.
Yep. So a lot of this stuff is on hold. We have seen some things approved for impact aid, but again, I think we'll see our biggest changes and start to get answers after our new president and team are in place. I think right now everything's in a hold pattern, and I am pretty. I mean, I don't want to speak out of line here, Frank, but I think that pretty much states to be the same from a state funding liaison as well. There's really not much we can say on that until after all the new elected officials are in place.
Yeah, that's correct. And I mean, even, everybody is saying, whether it's NISPA or NISCUS, and I don't know about ASBO, that the likelihood of the governor giving us a budget in the very near future is not that high. So,
right. Yeah. Okay. Is there anything I missed, Frank?
It's not a miss. That just, again, I don't get political, but one of our senators will be the Senate Majority Leader.
Yes.
And not only is he one of our senators, he's also an impact aid champion.
Yes.
So from that perspective, that is at least a positive thing for impact aid. I mean, I'm not going to go political on who voted for what and who believes what. That's not. But as far as supporting, impact aid, certainly Senator Schumer and Senator Gillibrand and Congressman Maloney are advocates and supporters of impact aid. So that's a good thing moving into 2021.
Thank you. Thank you. Any updates from the local government liaison, Jim or Gabe as the alternate?
No, nothing right now. I was out for a couple weeks due to some health reasons, but nothing really on the agenda. I don't know if it was brought up, but the water situation is completely non-existent. I believe the reservoir is at 98% now, so we're all good with that.
Thank goodness for that. Thank goodness. Okay. Any new information on the tax cert group?
No, everything is quiet at this time. There's been no updates.
Thank you. Thank you. The West Point Community Council liaison, we haven't had any updates or meetings scheduled at this time. I think we might start hearing things about that after the first of the year, but for now it's quiet. The community engagement report, Dr. Sheboy, if you have anything on that.
Well, I don't think I can give any better report than the diversity committee, as well as what the principals and Yashira have given here. So and Beth. So I mean, that's why I usually like to do this after theirs, because they've already done most of what I've done. I do have a county team meeting tomorrow, but that's not really community engagement. I mean, the principals and the diversity and equity committee did a marvelous job. So.
Yes, they did. It was a great meeting tonight. I thank everybody again. So, Denise?
Okay. Consent agenda. Use of the consent agenda permits the Board of Education to make more effective use of its time by adopting a single motion to cover those relatively routine matters which are included. Any member of the board who wishes to discuss individually a particular piece of business on the consent agenda may so indicate, and that item will be considered and voted on separately, thus preserving the right of all board members to be heard on any issue. That the Board of Education approve the following consent agenda as submitted by the Superintendent of Schools, number 2 to 18.
Motion.
Motion. Do I have a second?
A second.
Second.
Thank you. And do I have any questions on 2 through 18 at this time?
I have. On number 9, on the change orders, I was able to see the amount with regard to the trees and the stumps and the detail, but I was not able to get the details on the other 3 that we're supposed to act on, one having been
The amounts, Ned, the amount of money?
someone just amounts and what they were related to.
They're attached right on all those attachments, but I can read them to you if you'd like. So for the
If you can.
okay, so for the change order 5-7, I hope I'm reading this right. 5-7 is the fence, the new posts and the fence.
Yeah.
It would be for $9,896.04.
Thank you.
Okay, and then for 5-4 for it's right on the bottom of all these. You just have to space down for the cut, chip, and dispose of 9 trees and stumps. That one's $7,763.
That I have.
That one you had? Okay. 5-5 would be $6,724.87, and that's for the paving milling area at the pole barn.
And remember, that is millings. It is not actual asphalt. Yep.
Yes. We know that 5-06 was removed. 5-8 is the this is the guardrail in parking area C, because they couldn't reuse what was already there due to the changes, and that's 9928.44.
Thank you.
You're very welcome. Are there any other questions? Okay.
Frank,
All in favor? Go ahead.
Was the pole barn blocks ever confirmed to be installed?
Yes.
I sought to get that information from without success.
I believe that Dr. Sheboy
Yes.
walked out there and confirmed that that was done. Yes,
Yes.
he did.
Thank you.
Yep.
The locks are on the pole barn.
Aye.
Okay. Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion carries. Hey, if no one has anything else, may I please read the resolution for going into executive session? And that is, be it resolved that the Board of Education recesses into executive session for the purpose of discussing the employment history of a particular individual and discussing, Frank, what is it for the contract?
I'll be relaying advice of counsel, so you can say that.
Okay, for relaying advice of counsel.
Motion.
May I please
Second.
get a motion? Motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries, and I thank everybody for joining, and I thank you for your time. So thank you very much.